All right. So I feel to say a few words before we begin the meeting proper. And the first thing is that I have changed the name of this group, and I thought I should address why. So things can resonate for a while until they don't. And so for a long time, satsang, which is described as meeting in truth, resonated. But it no longer does. Because even the idea of meeting in truth applies, well, it gives the impression that there are two things. There's the truth and then something meeting it. And that's no longer how I see it. So just as the words consciousness and awareness used to resonate here and no longer do, they just sound like concepts. I can't find awareness. I can't find consciousness. Honestly, all words sound like concepts to me at this point. Stories, beautiful stories, but empty. And when they're believed, well, tales told by an idiot. Sound and fury. And so the simple message is that there's just what's happening. This is it, right here. There's nothing else going on, just this. And if there's a feeling of uncomfortability, something uncomfortable, that would be the me. And I like the way, big surprise here, I like the way Tim Kliss says it. Was my post in the well, now the non-duality community on Facebook, is that the me is the sense of waiting. That feeling of a better moment, something to come. Not this, something in the future. But there's only this. Just this. This is all that's happening. Nothing else. So nothing's coming for the me. That's a false hope. That something even needs to come is just an idea of the me. So the question I posted on Facebook a couple days ago, some of you may have seen it, said, how does boundlessness become bound? How does boundlessness become bound? Right? Because if I say, oh, there's only boundlessness, pretty much everybody would agree. I could get a lot of heads nodding if I said, yeah, there's just boundlessness. But that isn't our experience, is it? So I'm asking the question. I was asking in a really honest way. I didn't put any answers. I just put the question out there and got several people who replied. So if this is boundlessness, in other words, there's no borders to the universe, we could say, to life, no edges, then it's boundless. Then if its actual nature is boundlessness, why do we feel bound? I think that's a worthy question to go into. How is that possible? If life is boundless, whole, never lacking. So feel free to unmute. Let me let Joan in. Feel free to unmute yourself. If you have comments, questions, anything you'd like to share.
Because I want to be in control and in charge. That's really bounding me.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is freedom already. This is already boundlessness already until me shows up. So that's how boundlessness becomes bound, because I say it's mine. But boundlessness doesn't have an owner. This moment is ownerless. And if you have a thought that says, or you have a feeling that says, I feel bound, you don't own that. That's not yours. Charles, do you want to unmute and share?
Yeah, this is what Stravinsky had to say on the topic. My freedom will be so much the greater and more meaningful, the more narrowly I limit my field of action and the more I surround myself with obstacles. Whatever diminishes constraint diminishes strength. The more constraints one imposes, the more one frees oneself of the chains that shackle the spirit.
So if I'm being honest, I don't really understand that.
We lose ourselves to find ourselves.
Can we unpack that a little more?
Yeah, let's let Diane in. Since she missed last week, we'll let her in.
Can we take a vote on this? Kidding.
Joan, behave. Where's Diane? Is she here? Does she have battery power? All right.
I don't know how the boundless becomes bound. But one thought I had was that the boundless becomes bound to realize it's boundless. This edges with which we can discover ourselves and discover our freedom. It's a very famous quote from Stravinsky.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is that the boundlessness is already the case right now, right here. This is boundless until me shows up. And as soon as me's on the scene, then I know something. And suddenly that boundlessness is now constrained by my knowledge. I know this, I know that. And there's my separation, there's my division. This against that, up against down. But it's all life. The me does that. The me divides this up. Life doesn't.
Right, so why does that happen? Why does me do that?
Well, the me is trying to get control. So it has to know something to be able to control it. So that's why this is sometimes said as unknowing, which is something the me is not interested in.
I loved what you said back there in the introduction about what really struck me of what you said was something like, if we recognize that we're suffering, it's the me. It's as simple, to me, it's as simple as that. If I'm not suffering, I'm probably in the boundlessness. But when I'm suffering, that's when I've identified as a me. I just think it's that simple, really.
Well, the boundlessness is always the case. But the boundlessness isn't the freedom, the liberty, it's all here until me shows up and says otherwise. It says, I know this. See, this is not knowable. And we've been taught from right out the beginning what things are called. So the illusion of knowledge makes us feel like we know what this is, right? I can say computer, I can say screen, I can say Zoom. We have all these labels, but the labels don't actually tell you what this is.
I think I'm trying to say that, like, that a lot of my life has been suffering and depression, anxiety, all that sort of stuff. But if I can stay in the boundlessness and not identify, not touch it, not touch anything, like as soon as I touch knowing and as soon as I experience suffering, I've stepped out of the boundlessness into hell, really.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You don't really step out of boundlessness, but I know what you mean. It feels like you enter, well, you do in a way, because you're entering the world of me. And that world of me is a false. It's not real, which is
Yeah.
why it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I guess I'm stepping into duality.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say it that way, but because think about it, it's just words. So if I watch this, Faith, if I say, I really like this moment, or I really hate this moment, notice the words don't change the moment. The moment is as it is. The moment is already at peace. It's me who's not at peace. But again, if we go back to boundlessness, there actually is nothing bound. It's not possible. Where the me gets its power from is the power of imagination. Think about, have you ever been scared and you thought there was something out there and you realized there was nothing? Like it was all in your imagination, or maybe you had a scary dream and you wake up and you're like, oh, it was all in my imagination. So that's how the me, it can only imagine. And then if you go along with it, you feel bound. Because now that you're bound, naturally you're going to seek. So that's what the me does, is it seeks and it seeks. But the message here is that the seeking is the suffering. If this is already boundless, what do you need to seek?
So the seeking actually confirms that I'm a me and makes that stronger. That's why I suffer.
Yeah, because who else would be seeking but a me?
Right.
Right? At least I know who I am. I'm the seeker. I'm the one who doesn't get it.
But I'm gonna, if I seek enough,
There's the waiting. That's what Tim was. I'm waiting because in the future, I'm going to get it. I just don't have it now. That's such a lie. That's such baloney. There is no future. I'm not kidding. There's no future and there's no past. There's just this. And what this is, you can't say because it's everything. It's everything and nothing. It's everything. I want to try and explain that as best as I can. It's everything because there's nothing else. So it's everything that's appearing, but it's nothing in that you can't grab it. You can't hold on to it. Try and grab 5 seconds ago. So the one who's waiting gets its power from you by believing its story. Oh yeah, I really, there'll be a time in the future when I'm going to get this. I just know it. Believing that it's going to come is the suffering. Again, this is not knowable. The words give us the illusion that we know what this is because we can name things. But knowing the word doesn't actually tell you what it is. It's a label. What do they say? The map's not the territory? What if you didn't believe the me?
Freedom. Fear.
Wait, do we go from freedom to fear?
Well, yeah, both.
Yeah, it's all welcome. That's it. Without a me, there's no filter. So that's why the me will say, oh, it's scary. You need me. You need the filter. Do you? That sounds like the filter talking. Right? Because the only one says you need the me is me. Look around. Is anything else saying it? Look around. Look around your apartment or where you are. Nothing else is complaining. Nothing else wants anything. Everything is completely content except me.
Rupert Spira had one of my favorite quotes when he said, time is what infinity looks like when filtered through the mind. Mind is a filter. It's infinity, but because our mind filters it, we can call it time.
Yeah. And listen, there's no problem with time. We need it. We needed to set up this 6 p.m. Zoom meeting, so time is useful. But it's just seen for what it is. So stories are just seen as stories. That's the difference. Before, me was clinging, my God, clinging to these stories.
Well, I just want to correct you. What 6 o'clock to you is 9 o'clock to me.
There you go.
Just say it.
Yeah.
Case in point.
No, exactly, Joan. So like even time isn't real. If it's 6 here and 9 there, and we can take an hour for daylight savings and put it back.
Wait, I can do one better. Try to grok this. My puppy is 17 weeks old, but he's not yet 4 months old. He was born on October 7th. Do that math. He is not 4 months old, but he's been alive for 17 weeks. How fucked up is that?
And just to point out that given that with the speed of light in all of our locations, there can be no objective constant time that we could refer to in a meaningful way at the macro scale.
Yeah. But it works good enough. You know what I mean? It's like if you see time for what it is, and even we can talk about preferences. So there's nothing wrong with desires or preferences. They get such a bad rap. Oh, I just have to stop my preferences. No, there's no problem with that. They come and they go. They're just what they are. It's just when the me gets a hold of it, then it becomes something else.
I think that it seems that this stuff is really even so kind of hard to talk about, because when we talk about the me, it almost seems like it's a real thing. And yet nothing is really happening because it's so ephemeral. I mean, you know, it can sound that way, like I have to get rid of a me, or I have to do this with me, but we have to use language. I guess I see something much more clearly after listening to Tim's talk this morning. It was just phenomenal. It was just amazing that that this boundlessness is becoming more clear, and I'm really grateful.
So it begs the question, Michael, if the me is illusory, much like time or space, well, what's wrong with it? It functions.
What's wrong with it is it doesn't exist. You can't find a me. Take a look. There's a body, there's hair, blood, but you never found an act. You can't show me, you can't reach inside and pull out a me. That doesn't discount, it feels like a me, but so what? Who cares that part of your experience is described as, I feel like a me? The me would like you to think that is quite an achievement. That is quite something very special, whether you want to get rid of it or not. It doesn't really care how you feel about it. If you hate the me or you love the me, both are illusory.
Like space and time, and like everything is nothing. It's illusory.
It's not, everything is nothing and everything except the me. The me is completely illusory. The me is completely illusory. You don't need a me. I think this is one of the hardest things to communicate. You don't need a me to function. Thoughts will still come, feelings will still come, choices will seemingly arise, and they'll seemingly get picked or they won't, but you'll begin to see you were never doing any of that. The me is basically a credit taker. It comes in after the fact and said, oh yeah, I decided to get up and go into the kitchen and get something to eat. Yeah, I did that.
So the question is, what's wrong with that?
Well, it kind of depends on who you ask, Charles, because there's a lot of people that seem to be able to function very well as thinking they're a me. I just couldn't do it. I just could not. I just was pure suffering and hell and torment here. And I wrote a 525-page book with famous motivational speakers like Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer and Brian Tracy, and trying to find the best ways human beings could use their mind to achieve success.
But it brought you to where you're now, right?
Yeah, all that because that didn't make me any happier, knowing all these shortcuts to success was still empty. I'm like, well, no, this still isn't it. So that's why I say this is really for people who have tried everything and nothing's worked. You've tried every form of seeking you could possibly think of. Material, physical, spiritual, money, sex, other people, relationships, whatever. Try them all until you're convinced and you see none of them will scratch the itch.
That's the answer to your question. That's why boundlessness becomes bound, so they can find its boundlessness.
Yeah, it's sort of crazy, right? Because it's basically, you're going to end up right here. You're going to end up right in the same place you are now. You've never left this placeless place. And the seeking doesn't go anywhere. It's all an imagination. But it has to run its course.
Some people get it sooner than others, and then some people don't get it in their lifetime. You just never know.
Right. Now, and most people don't care about this, funny enough.
Well, how many people we have on the call? 11.
Exactly.
11 people.
Yeah. So you can see, no, but that's pretty profound, because I was so naive when I first started, because I thought this, like Tim, I thought this was the greatest news since sliced bread. I thought, oh boy, everybody's going to be so happy to see that there's really no me, and all their suffering was not real. Whew, boy, talk about being lost in imagination.
And then there are people who are easily hypnotized. Watch TV.
Yeah, there's everything. It has everything. That's the thing about it. There's no rules to this. So anything can appear at any time. So it doesn't care what you and I think. That's the thing. Me has all these rules that it's living by. And it thinks other me's are supposed to follow their rules. And when other me's don't do what they think, they get upset. Every me is thinking, if they just listen to me.
Yep.
That's what my whole business is based on, is talking to a lot of me's. And I've just agreed to do some counseling with a couple. I don't know what has possessed me to say yes to that, because I know exactly what's going to happen. It's like one me wanting the other me to do what that me wants.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm going to do.
That's perfect. I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Oh,
Send in the clowns.
How beautiful. No, but that's really, see, when you realize you actually don't have any ideas, you don't know what's happening next. And I understand that to me, that can sound scary. Sounds, oh, I don't know. But here's the thing. It's always, you've never known. You just thought you knew. So it was this false illusion of security that me lives by. Just like when you believed as a kid there was really a Santa Claus and you got some comfort, like, you know, the day before Christmas, oh, Santa's on the way, he's bringing me presents, I've been sort of good. But there never was a Santa Claus.
yeah, I hate that. If I had children again, I would tell them it's not true. Lucky I don't have any more children to have.
Right. But what I'm saying is the belief in the me is the same as the belief in Santa.
I know.
Or the belief they lived happily ever after.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with believing in Santa. And there's nothing wrong with believing you're me. This meeting is just, as Jim Newman says, it's in response. It's just for those sort of rare ones that smell a rat. They're like, no, I can't get this me to work. My me is broken.
I want my money back. I didn't sign up for this.
Well, think about it. What is in every situation you've ever had that you were unhappy or displeased or didn't like? What was the one common factor in all of them?
Me.
Ding, 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 ding.
I always ask, what did I bring to the party? You know, when things don't work, I'm like, how did this happen? I'm like, well, what did I bring to the party? What did I bring? What did the me bring? You know?
Nothing.
I just have my mantra, I'm full of shit.
Any other comments, questions, sharings?
I'm just pondering that question that was asked before about why is the me a problem? Because a lot of people may not find it a problem because everything seems to go the way they want it to go. But you've got to look at if things are not the way you want them. And that's where most people start to question it, when things are not going the way you want them to. And that's the people I meet all the day in my work. And they're invested in things being the way they want them to be. So that's when a me is suffering, I guess. I think you can be a me and have everything you want in this life, and you're going to have to go through a few of those before you even think about it. So as you said initially, suffering sometimes is the way that the question gets asked at some point. And I know that was at least for me.
Oh yeah.
It's not working. So
yeah.
When it's
working, totally
working,
said that, yeah.
Yeah, when it's working, you can be a me for however long it works for, I guess.
Right.
I call it a complacency coma.
Or the other thing is a sudden tragedy from out of left field. Because that shakes your world. For instance, if somebody you saw in the morning and then in the evening you found out they passed away.
Yeah. Start to question things a bit.
Yeah, because you're sitting there and you thought you knew something. Wait, they're not supposed to die. I was just with them. How is that possible? So that could be an opening to that questioning. And I know for me as a kid, just as a very early age, I was always wondering what this was all about. And I know Uncle Jack will vouch for this. So I became a magician because I was so intrigued with magic that for the next 25 years from high school on, I made my living as a professional magician.
You were the youngest magician at the Magic Castle at the age of 16.
Wow. Well, that memory is still good, Uncle Jack. Well done.
No, I remember everything all my life. The time that I was a baby in a crib and going to sleep and feeling that my body is going heavy and I'm going somewhere else. I mean, I've had so much fun. I've had so many extraordinary experiences. I was going to sum up a lot of what was said by something I read as a little boy, was that our multituance is characterized by consummate interfusion of the circumlocation or other unfamiliar manifestations of express expanditations commonly utilized by promulgating bodies. And that's called baffled gab. And it's, as a little boy, I read that and I still remember it at 83 as though I'm still that little boy. But that little boy is the illusion, because my life has been so extraordinary in that I almost was incognito. I was not, the me was invisible. I was the master as a little boy. I wanted to know things, do things, but it wasn't me, and I wasn't looking for praise or blame or money. And the journey has been extraordinary. Right now I'm doing my memoirs, and they're unbelievable. That's why I'm going to dedicate my book to Ripley's Believe It or Not.
All right. Thank you, Uncle Jack. Thank you. All
The
right.
youngest magician at the Magic Castle was Magic Mike. And this book, which I still have as a little boy, was amazing. How he interviewed all these different personalities, including Tony Robbins. I walked on fire and videotaped him when I was 47. But when I was 11 years old, a little barefoot boy on an island off of Fort Myers, walking 5 miles a day to see if my mother sent me any food. I on the way home, there was a Scottish family about to burn up. And I said, how can I help? And they said, well, if you could build a fire and build a backfire, it'll burn out before it comes to the house. I said, okay. Just a little barefoot, freckled little boy, grabbed burning bushes, and I built a backfire around the house. And that was
Uncle
when
Jack,
I was 11.
Uncle Jack, don't make us put you back in the home.
It's so much fun not to take ourselves seriously and just watching and enjoying out of the body, out of the box.
Thank you.
There's an idea that, you know, that we lose ourselves so that we can find ourselves, right? But the purpose of the ego is to bring us to that realization of boundlessness. The purpose of that illusion is to, it's like God playing hide and seek, some have said. It's an interesting idea. I mean, to me, I feel like everything is perfect, right? So there's got to be some reason for this illusion. It causes this perspective.
Yeah, but notice, Charles, the only one asking that is the illusion. So there's just this, just the simplicity of this, however it's showing up, both pleasant and unpleasant, is it equally?
So why does there have to be a reason for any of it?
Exactly. Yeah, only me asks for the reason.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at a dog, right, and you have food, the dog just goes over and starts eating. He doesn't sit there and go, I wonder what the reason for this food is.
Yeah.
It's a very natural existence. When you get out of your head, you actually do become more animal-like in some ways, because everything's very natural. You just move toward things that attract you and move away from things that you're not interested in, just like an animal or a dog.
Actually said that to a client yesterday. It was a young girl who was concerned because she doesn't like being around people. And when she explained some of the things, I just thought, well, I can't see a problem with that. But she felt like there's got to be, you know, she has to interact. But there were some things that, like, it was upsetting her that someone did something. And I just asked her to watch her no to it, you know, that energy that comes up in resistance to it. But, you know, most of it, I couldn't really see. I said that to her, that you'll move away from things naturally if you're not meant to be experiencing them, and you'll be attracted towards other things. And that's just how it is. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I wonder how helpful I am, actually.
No, it's beautiful. That's so beautiful, because that's Diane got out of the way, and that was just the pure speaking. So
Well, it validates people, you know, people need to hear it.
Well, I'm not very conventional in my craft of therapy, I can tell you that.
That's a good thing.
yeah, but in a way, what Diane's saying is that there is no right or wrong way. That's just in story. So if that's what's happening and it seems to work, what's the problem? You know, it's funny how this idea that we have to conform, that it should look a certain way.
I used to tell my daughter that I was Tooth Fairy. Just pissed her off.
I fell for that. I remember finding 2 quarters under my pillow after putting a tooth, and there it was. So I believed I had evidence. So that's what the me does. It has all this evidence for, you know.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No. But again, if you're suffering, that will get you to take a look. So that's the only thing is, for me, that falseness of thinking I was the me, that can dissolve, disappear, thin out, whatever words you want to use. But you see, the less you, the more peace. Ooh, that could be the title of the video.
I found that going around and telling people that there was no Santa Claus made me a lot of enemies pretty quick.
Yeah, people like their fairy stories. We like them. We don't take them away. The me needs its stories. It'll get violent.
The illusion. They need the illusion.
Yeah.
I'd tell my 2-year-old grandson a lot of stuff because I just know he's not going to remember it. Like, there's no Santa Claus. It's really a big lie. I won't tell him that when he's 5, though. I promise.
Any other last comments or questions before we close out?
Can I make a 30-second story?
No more stories, Uncle Jack. So I just want to thank Alice for the donation, much appreciated. I want to thank everyone else for coming. I really appreciate you. This is such a joy, this sharing. There's so much joy in it. And it's so simple because we're not used to not doing. We've been taught our whole lives that to achieve anything, you have to do. No, you already are. No doing.
Hey, Michael, I just wanted to throw out something too before we go. Something you said earlier, and I thought it was really profound. I've been sort of meditating on it the whole Zoom, which is there is nothing lacking. And I just think that when we all get off the Zoom, if you took 60 seconds and really meditated on that, it's at least it hit me extremely hard. And so I just wanted to highlight that, my takeaway from tonight, that I think it's a great meditation just to really take that in. There's nothing lacking, just very powerful. So thank you for sharing that.
Beautiful. Thank you everyone so much for coming this evening. And I'll do my best to get this up on YouTube the next 24 to 48 hours.
Hey, can I ask a question for newbies?
Sure.
How does the donation work? We take turns kind of pitching in for the monthly fee or something?
Well, you can just go to PayPal and put in my email address if you'd like to make a donation. mjeffries1 at PayPal. mjeffries, yeah, 1. It's
on
on
the meetup page.
Pardon me?
Is it on the meetup page? Or,
Yeah, it's on the meetup page.
Is it a number 1 or ONE?
It's the number 1. It's actually M, and then my last name Jeffries, then the number 1, then the @ roadrunner.com. mjeffries1 roadrunner.com. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming tonight. I really appreciate you all being here. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you
I
guys.
wish I could have
Thank you.
been there.
Ah,
Thanks, everyone.
you're
Bye-bye.
the best, Uncle Jack.